And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome in to your box seat. Live box seat, of course. It has been the New Zealand Bloodstock National Yearling Sales Week, and what an enormous last 3 or 4 days it has been. We'll get an opportunity to review everything that's been unfolding, not only in Auckland at Karaka, but of course the last couple of days out of Agricultural Park in Christchurch. Michael Guerin's up in Auckland. Monday was huge. The trotting sale yesterday exceeded expectations, and today everything was blown out of the water. A very good evening to you, Michael.
Good evening to you, Gregory. Big hi to everybody, and congratulations to those who bred, were vendors for, or sold or bought horses over the last couple of days, Greg. We thought this new dawn for New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred would be good, but really when you put it down to the essence of it, Greg, they were selling more or less the same product to mainly the same people. So you're thinking, well, where's that momentum going to come from? It came from a new energy, Greg. There was an energy there from Sunday when you did the parade at Karaka, right through to Monday. I doubted it could continue through to today. Trotting sale yesterday I thought would be good, but Greg, to continue with the momentum with more horses, 155 sold today, was nothing short of remarkable. This has been the 3 days that harness racing breeding, racing and owning has needed for a long time, my friend. A very, very positive last 3 days, and it would be only the worst of curmudgeons who could find something not to like about the last couple of days.
We're having a look at some of those lots from the first day out of Karaka, and there's Tony Grayling. The Woodlands team had a terrific time, as we know, 190,000 there, good looking girl. Jean Feast heavily involved once again, as were a number of our Australian buyers. 12.3 million in total sales out of Karaka. We're picking up some of the footage out of Christchurch as well. There's Logan Hollis, an enormous time for the draft for he and Shane Robertson as well. So just so many positives. Michael, let's get to the first day and Karaka, and there was a lot of expectations around particularly the lots that were going to exceed $100,000, and here are the figures, Michael. $4.6 million at an average of $46,750. The top price lot, of course, $190,000. And whilst the clearance rate was down, and New Zealand Bloodstock, we'll hear from Andrew Seabrook shortly, was disappointed in that, it was still a rather large tick.
Massively so. $46,700. Let's make it $47,000, Greg, for a standardbred sale is nothing short of remarkable. I mean, you're talking about getting close enough to $50,000 for every horse who goes through the ring. That's the average price. More importantly, Greg, sometimes got to go back to where you came from. And I remember being in a meeting with the North Island Standardbred Breeders Association about 16 years ago. They said, look, how do we get more publicity for the sales, because the average back then, Greg, was sitting at $7,600. That's what the average was at Karaka, $7,600. It went up to $10,000 that year, Greg. They were thrilled. That was less than 20 years ago. A boost to $10,000 was incredible. We're now getting close to $50,000. Now, yes, there are factors around this, supply and demand being a crucial one, and also stakes going up at Alexandra Park and very strong overseas markets. But Greg, I think the most important part about what we saw on Monday, because we expect land-based people who have their own farms, to buy horses in Christchurch. That's a gimme. What price they're going to go for is the hard part to work out. To have domestic buyers buying at Karaka and not have all this good horse flesh going offshore, some of it will, but most of it will stay in the country, Greg, really important. Strong domestic buying bench and new blood. People there I'd never met before were buying up and buying horses to the level of $320,000 for 4 yearlings. So, Greg, those things are really important. And on top of that, young buyers. Youngsters going out there, putting their money down and saying, I'll go find some owners. Greg, all of those things are just as important as the $46,750.
Yeah, well, the building blocks were put in place with the opportunity to buy the fillies, of course, putting down 25%, paying that off over the 3 years. and of course the total finance package that New Zealand Bloodstock have put into place. We'll get to Andrew Seabrook in a moment, but Tony Grayling, big part of course of the Woodlands operation. He put up a yearling himself along with a couple of others, and here's what he had to say about a remarkable sale for him. Well, I reckon it's going to be hard to wipe the smile off your face for a wee while. This must be one heck of a result for you and your connections.
Oh yeah, I've pinched myself about 5 times today because I think I must be dreaming. It's the night before the sale, but yeah, super result.
All right, you've got this colt, Better's Delight, out of Camwood LC. Tell me how you came to breed this horse and obviously get him ready for the sale.
Well, the Woods, we helped them out when they, the father, John Woods, died. We helped the family out and sold a few of their horses and all that, and then they offered the mare to me for a year, you know, to breed one. And then Steve Cornwall, as our accountant at Woodlands, he said, I'll go halves with you. And yeah, Woodlands were very good with us, good discount with the Better's Delight service fee. So yeah, we got into it pretty cheap, really.
Yep. You turned up here hoping to get 40, maybe 50. He's gone to 140. That must be beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah, we were hoping to get 40 or 50. We would have taken 30, but yeah, we're well above it, yeah.
Yep. There's always a great story behind horses like this, and he's been purchased by John Street, so I'm picking you might be changing where you buy your groceries from now.
Yeah, pack and save all the way now.
It's been a massive sale for you as a preparer, but to have achieved that as a vendor as well will make this one always very memorable.
It will do. I'd like to thank all the staff that have helped us, because it's, you know, they've done a super job with the horse.
So lot 20, nice and early for Tony Grayling and his partners. Of course, the daughter of, well, the son of Better's Delight and Camwood Elsie. So a brother to Lancewood Lizzie, and that was a huge sale. Most importantly, the Better's Delights were the stars of the show. We all know that, that was expected, and he's like Savabeel at the thoroughbred sales. He's always going to carry that top end of the market. But really importantly, Greg, we saw a couple of stallions emerge who are going to be interconnectable with Better's Delight mares. Now that's crucial because Better's doesn't have that much longer to go, maybe 2-3 years. So once he's gone, Greg, you need something to carry the sale, and you need stallions that people want to buy the stock of. Now, Art Major goes across Better's Delight, and Vincent, the new Alabar horse, is going to do that too, Greg. But we saw 2 horses emerge over the last 3 days. Sweet Lou, in particular at Karaka, Greg, was really strong, and Captain Treacherous there, and then the last couple of days, Greg. Now, obviously, both those horses can go across Better's Delight mares, Greg. That, to me, was just as important as anything else we saw, because commercial stallions who can cross the hundreds and hundreds of Better's Delight mares who are going to be out there are really important, Greg, for the next couple of years.
Yeah, they certainly are, Michael. Particularly the Captain Treacherous is in Auckland. I thought, oh, okay, there's a new trend for you, but they were very much sought after here in Christchurch as well. I think there were 6 or 8 of them, and we'll see some of those figures very shortly. Let's get Andrew Seabrook's reaction, though, to what unfolded at Karaka and what New Zealand Bloodstock's take was on that. Andrew, in terms of a first sojourn into the standardbred industry, it just about couldn't have gone better.
Couldn't be happier, Greg. It started on the Sunday at Karaka there with the parade day, and just an amazing crowd. The buzz, the atmosphere, the excitement, a lot of people. I couldn't believe the number of people there on the Sunday. So it was a fantastic start, and then yeah, the sale on the Monday, just really, really happy. All the statistics were great.
13 horses sold over $100,000. That's a record.
Yeah, we couldn't believe that actually on Monday. Only 4 horses sold for more than 100 last year. So to achieve 13 is fantastic. But I love the fact that the median, that middle figure went from 23 to 34, and the average was up a lot too, 34 to 47, I think. So it was a really encouraging start to our foray into the business.
Yeah, look, reflective of a few things. 1, you guys getting involved, but 2, a clear lift in quality and also the way these horses were prepared. Vendors like Ken Brecken, Woodlands, the Logan Hollis draft, who had just had an outstanding sale. Gee, there's some positive signs going forward.
Yeah, there is. I was really impressed with the quality of the preparation. Really good. You know, it really augurs well for the future. We're thrilled to be involved. our core business is selling horses. So, the more our vendors make, the more we make. We're in this for the long haul. We really do want to make a difference.
If there was one minor negative, it was the clearance, and you guys are very, very keen to improve that.
Yeah, sure. It was 73, 74%. I'd love to get that up in the high 70s, even to 80, Greg. And look, there's still more sales going on as we speak, so let's hope we can do that.
Yeah, and overall there, it's got the pretty big tick from you guys then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're loving it.
Your real enthusiasm at Karaka. It's a great place to sell horses, quite simply. And New Zealand Bloodstock did a fantastic job, Greg, because there was a slightly more professional feel than in recent years. When you were looking at the bid spotters to the auctioneers, it felt more like a galloping sale, and therefore your mind naturally bumps up the figures. You mentioned a couple of the stars of the show there. We know Better's Delight and a couple of the stallions did a great job. 2 trotters, Greg, at 100,000 plus, so that's a big deal, because the North Island hasn't been a strong base for trotting, but now Brecon Farms have invested heavily in some horses at that level. And Logan Hollis, the young man on screen there with his partner Shane Robertson, they were the top preparers by average, 11 lots for around just over $700,000. That's a huge result for 2 young men who've been toiling away with largely inferior bloodstock early in their careers, and now they're bringing horses like the one we just saw previously into the sales ring. Greg, I was speaking with Andrew Seabrook and Sir Peter Vella, who obviously owns the company, and both of them were stunned by how much closer the standardbred, particularly the colts, are to the thoroughbred colts than they used to be. Greg, 10, 15 years ago, they were skinny little things compared to the gallopers. Now we have a champion thoroughbred stallion in Savabeel who produces quite muscular but not overly tall horses. And Greg, I spent 5 days at the recent thoroughbred sales, and the difference between, and I know there'll be some people watching this who want to argue and even abuse me and say, oh, that's just rubbish, you don't know what you're talking about. But I would have seen 1,000 yearlings in the last month. And the difference between a Savabeel, normal, nuggety, beautiful shouldered, nice-headed colt, Greg, and a Better's Delight horse of the similar standard is nowhere as vast as it used to be. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes they're almost interchangeable. I know there's some people who may think that's sacrilege. I say to those people, pop out to the sales and have a look for yourself.
Yep, hard to argue with that, and hard to argue with the pictures that we're looking at on the screen. We were lucky enough to catch up with Logan Hollis last week on the show, and congratulations to him and Shane, their effort in preparing the yearlings this year, along with a whole lot of other of the preparers as well. They've been well and truly rewarded. The second day of sales, of course, was in Christchurch. It also involved the parade of the paces for the next day. Michael, to achieve this in a trotting-only sale with about 40-odd horses, look at that clearance rate there of 83%, some truly remarkable figures out of what has become, it's only the second year for the trotters-only section, but I think this will never change the way it's gone the last 2 years.
A couple of reasons, Greg. First of all, there's not that many of them, so supply and demand suggests it should be very good. Also, you can go to world-class stallions. Love You, Muscle Hill was as good as any stallion in the world. So, Greg, when that semen becomes available, and we have had a lot of awfully good Sundon mares to put across, or put those stallions across, you end up with a very, very good breed, and they can race for a lot of money. At the Harness Jewels, it's 125 versus 150 for the Pacers. The Dominion's 300,000, the Great Southern Star's 250. So, Greg, you're buying out of a pool of maybe 500 foals on the ground in New Zealand, and it's an international breed now. The Victorians love them, so there were lots of positives there. It's only going to go forward, the trotters, and 30,000 for the average for them. Going back, to that story of 15, 16 years ago, I remember when they were giving the trotting yearlings away, Greg, at 8 or 10 or 12, or I bought one 2 years ago for $20,000, Greg, and that was about what they're worth then. That same horse at the sale would be worth 40. The trotter's very much a small niche but growing part of the industry.
Yeah, and of course, very much sought after, the Love Yous. Greg and Nina Hope, very active there again, purchasing the top priced lot. Here's what Andrew Seabrook had to say about day 2. Well, this would have been completely different. Not only are you now in the standardbred game, but a trotting-only sale. That was something unique.
Yes, that's the first time. And, geez, I thought it went really well, Greg. Only the 50 horses through the ring, but the average went from 25 to 32, and what was great was the clearance rate. You know, that's 82%, so that was really heartening.
All the major players got involved, particularly Greg and Nina Hope. Not surprisingly, the stock of Love You very much sought after, particularly by them.
Exactly, and I think there's a real interest in the trotters at the moment. They seem to be more popular than ever, so let's hope that continues and we can even sell more and for higher prices in the future.
How did you think that whole day went, given that you paraded the paces as well? Is it something that you believe you've got nailed down as absolutely bang on?
I don't think it's bang on yet. This is our first year, so we've pretty much did what they did last year and had that trotting sale on last night on the evening. We'll look at ways where we can tweak things and improve things in the future, but we'll take counsel from buyers and vendors. In fact, I think we'll do a decent survey after the sales regarding the Karaka sales and Christchurch, because we want to keep improving things, and we haven't finished yet.
Real variety among the trotting stallions. Love You is so vastly different to the sales darling who is Majestic Sun, Greg, but Father Patrick coming forward, and here's a horse who's going to leave proper horses. You know, he's one of the best horses in the world. So I think we've got to the stage, Greg, where our breed is getting about as advanced as it's going to get. We're not going to get a lot of Italian or French seamen down here because there's not a big enough market for it, but gee, there's some lovely trotters going around, Greg, and those times will get down and down and down and down. What we do need is to keep maintaining trotting stakes. That trotting into Dominion, Greg, $150,000. It's got to go to 200 and 250, and I know the ATC and Harness Racing New Zealand are keen on that, but I think that sales interest flows into that sort of stuff. I think there'll be more momentum in the stakes because of the momentum at the sales.
Well, the momentum into day three, there was plenty of anticipation, not as many lots available, of course, so supply and demand certainly kicked in there. And here's a few of the top price lots, and gee, there was some stirring battles in the ring. The usual suspects, Michael, Emilio Rosati, of course, Gene Feast, John Street, Mark Purden and his syndicates through the Kennards. All of the major players were there, but Crandell Getty, Nigel McGrath, they were heavily involved in some of these very big battles.
Yeah, they were, and the good colts, Greg, went for great money, and that's important because there's things you can do with them. You can race them, you can sell them, but there's actually a realistic domestic stallion market, Greg, and while the galloping sales would like to think there's a realistic domestic market, it's incredibly difficult to stand a thoroughbred domestically. Unless you're Ocean Park or Sacred Falls, you've got to go to Australia and prove yourself, which is getting harder to do. But if a pace is any good, like a really good horse, like Lazarus will come back and be a sensation at stud. Now, we have that market, Greg, where people can justify paying good money for paces, particularly ones by Bettor's Delight, but maybe it'll be Captain Treacherous and Sweet Lou in the future, and Vincent's by Art Major, and say, look, these things can stand at stud, Greg. They can make money. The one that trend I did notice, Greg, and it's not a negative, it's market forces, is that stallions with any perceived notion of weakness, people have gone very cold on. If anybody thinks, oh, they're fast, but they're weak, I think, Greg, people are getting reluctant to buy those horses, and breeders should be reluctant to breed to them because, Greg, the speed of racing is so much quicker now that a Christian Cullen type horse, and he'll have some wonderful horses, Greg, I don't think those speed stallions stand up quite as well as the really tough, robust American type stallions. So the domestic market's clearly there, but I think people want it going through a different bloodline, one which is, I think the Bettor's Delight type stallions are going to be really popular heading forward. That's maybe the best way to sum it up.
All right, and to sum up the final day and the overall sale, let's get to Andrew Seabrook just one more time. Andrew, it might be half an hour after the last gong has gone, but you can hear the noise in the background. People are still here, the buzz is still here.
Yeah, everyone's over at the bar there, Greg, and having a great time. It's been an amazing day today. The sale has finished so well. Strongest day of the 3 days, actually. Clearance 81%. The average has gone from 26 to 42. The all-important middle market, the median's gone from 18 to 31. It's been a great day selling.
Beyond, way beyond your expectations. What about the number of $100,000 lots today? You got to double figures here in Christchurch.
Yeah, but 10, I think, made 100 or more, so yeah, fantastic. And it was still going at the end, really, really strong. As people walked away, without horses, that's how strong it was in the last hour or so. So 10 horses were 100 or more. I think last year was only 2 or 3, so yeah, really good.
Look, some really good battles in the ring too. Obviously, the largest lot purchased by Emilio Rosati at $170,000 out of the Shard family, and the Smiths have been such great supporters of the yearling sales.
Yeah, they've done a great job. They prepared their horses so well down there in Invercargill, and they were rewarded that lovely colt there, lot 267, and I'm really pleased for them.
Yeah, the Southern Red, they had a terrific hour or so there with the prices. Katrina, walking the horses round and a big smile on her face, and Roger and the family, and that they again have done a great job with their horses.
Yeah, they have. The price has done a good job, as to the Kennedys and everyone at SBSR. It's a really great marketing tool. The unity they show and marketing their horses as one is fantastic.
So the overall for New Zealand bloodstock, it was a punt to get involved in the Standardbreds, but I'm sure that you as a mainstay of this company must be absolutely delighted.
Absolutely delighted, Greg. We're loving it. Really happy to be involved, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. We want to keep going. We want to keep improving things, and we're going to ensure we do that for next year.
All right. Well, congratulations on what's been an outstanding sale, and we look forward to the future.
Lovely. Thanks, Greg.
Here's a man who has every reason to be happy, Andrew Seabrook, as the Managing Director. Greg, it's important to also note that a large number of staff came across from Pinegould Guinness Wrightsons who did a good job at the sales. They brought institutional knowledge with them, people like Peter Lagan and Bruce Barlas and, of course, Rachel Deegan. And I think putting that into a bigger, more efficient machine has been good, because I think you couldn't have done one without the other. So a remarkably positive week. And knowing Sir Peter Vella, knowing Andrew Seabrook, knowing some of the people involved, Greg, I would suggest they're going to try and get bigger and better. I think eventually the sales series will I think the aim is to maybe have a $500,000 Colts race to give people to really get their teeth into, Greg. As we look at the lots there from Karaka and the $100,000 plus lots, 24 in total for the week. There was nothing I could pot about the sale itself, Greg. The one thing I would change, because it's a boutique size sale, I would change Auckland to Sunday, Greg. I think it would sit nicely on Sunday. You were at the parade, as we see the Christchurch big figures, equal top $2 are $170,000. Greg, I think you could move that sale to Sunday, because I was having a drink of water with somebody who bought a share in a horse because they came out to tie kick. They came out to have a look. A galloping guy, Daniel Narkley, probably wasn't looking to buy a horse, Greg. You bring 50 more people who are there tie kicking for the day, have come out for a glass of wine to have a look, Greg, and maybe 10 of them buy horses. That's unlikely on a Monday. There's a lot less. I think you move that sale to Sunday. What you do in between at Christchurch, whether you have your parade on Monday or move the whole thing back by one day, Greg, I think that's the one change they could make. Major wins. The standard of preparation, Gregory, was outstanding. Really, really good. Not that far off the gallops. And the one payment system for the sales series, Greg, paying $1,800 up front, you're in the sales series forever, forget about it. Those things are real positive. So, as I said, Greg, there's virtually no negatives out of the week. There'll be disappointed vendors who didn't get what they want, Greg, but that basically is the way any marketplace works. People want what they want, and they don't want what they don't want.
No, exactly. So to the Kennedys as well, of course, the top lot, along with the Smiths, Southern Red, they had an enormous couple of days, and they've worked hard on promoting that brand, and now they're being rewarded, and overall it was huge. Speaking of Southern Bred, Tuapeka Lodge, there's Father Dan Cummings. He's been coming to the yearling sales for a very, very long time. His breed, nothing short of outstanding, and lot 338 sold for $36,000. I think they sold one out of Tuapeka Maddie as well for $90,000. So only a couple out of the famous brand that is Tuapeka Lodge. But to Father Dan, his commitment to this yearling sales has been one of the great stories, Michael.
He's an amazing guy, the sort of people you need in the harness racing industry, not scared to give their horses time and breed from them for a long period of time. A couple of questions for you, Gregory. You were there today, and I think there were more pin hookers at Christchurch because the prices were slightly lower, and also there's some youngsters out there who will look at doing it. What was the feedback you got about potential people heading forward to the Ready to Run for a start?
Yeah, a lot of positive talk around those, and people looking for a horse that would get up and go early. So there was definitely some of that, although it was hard work getting that type of horse. If you were looking to buy one for, say, 25 to 40, gee, it was hard work, Michael. They were all exceeding, or many of them, the 50,000 mark, and that makes it hard to turn it round into the Ready to Run. But there was certainly a lot of positives about some of the initiatives being put in place by New Zealand Bloodstock. And yeah, overall, I think there's a few younger trainers that have had a bit of a go, and we'll list some of those in a moment. We'll talk about some of those. Guys like Jeremy Young who approached us, some that aren't so young, like James Stormont said, would you mind putting my name out there? Regan Todd, those type of trainers that need some help and want to progress their business, they were certainly active, Michael.
Young Alicia Harrison bought a horse on her own, which is extremely rare for a young female that age to be buying standardbreds. You get guys like Matt Anderson with the Spender's own money. He's going to try and syndicate those horses. Jack Harrington's the same. Mitchell Kerr. So that's really encouraging, Greg, because much like Bettor's Delight's getting older, without being rude, so are Barry and Mark and Tony and Morris and all those guys. They're not going to be around forever, and you need the next wave to come through. Josh and John Dickey had a major win at the sales. A new buyer coming on board, Mr. Dallimore, buying 4 horses for $320,000. I need to ask you this, Gregory. What does it all mean for harness racing? Because obviously the supply and demand is extremely strong here. And there's a good breed, and North Americans want our horses, and Australians want our horses, and domestically people want horses as stakes go up at Alexandra Park. But how do the powers that be need to react, and what do we need to do next to not lose that momentum? That's what I've been thinking about the last couple of nights.
Yeah, well, to continue it, Michael, there's absolutely no doubt that we may need to make significant change. We need more stakes, no doubt, because the momentum built up, particularly in the last 3 or 4 days. If there's not a return at the other end for those people who have purchased these horses, then the future of increasing the yearling sales or even maintaining them from this year, and the vendors therefore reinvesting in breeding, yeah, it's in doubt. So the changes need to be made. We've got the Masara report sitting there. We've got some real positive signs out of the likes of the Auckland Trotting Club. Southland Stakes are very, very good. Overall, I think we just need to continue with that trend. And if this week's anything to go by, there's certainly enough positive people in this sport to make sure that happens.
I think, Greg, we need increased syndication. I think people need to be aware of how syndicates work, and there needs to be transparency in the syndicates. I think there needs to be obviously stakes increases at the major 2 tracks. People probably don't mind racing for smaller stakes at an Oamaru or some of the smaller tracks in the south, or even if you're going to Marlborough, because there's a bit of fun that goes with those, Greg, but the major 2 tracks have to get to the stage where they're racing for a minimum of $20,000. And if they can't do that, they should hand the reins over to somebody who can. They both have a lot of land, Greg, and land is a huge asset in the current environment in the world. So build things on it like Alexandra Park is doing and put that money back into stakes. That's a no-brainer. I also think that it proves, Greg, that if you breed good horses, you can sell them. But the buyers who didn't get what they want need to go home and say, why didn't I get what I wanted, Greg? And I know we can't all go to Bettor's Delight, and we don't want to go to Bettor's Delight, but I do think that there's still, unless your family's got really heavy black type, Greg, you need to produce a magnificent horse, and it's really hard to do that. So I think people need to be honest. If I can't meet the marketplace, then I'll meet the Ready to Run marketplace, or I'll breed to race. But telling people, Greg, that you're going to breed to sell, but not breeding what they want, is like trying to tell somebody what car they have to buy.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a whole lot of fun the last 3 or 4 days. Congratulations to New Zealand Bloodstock and all of the vendors, preparers and buyers for that matter. I hope your dreams were achieved, and we look forward to seeing the progress of the yearlings that have just gone through the sale. We need to take a quick break here on your box seat. When we come back, we'll head to one of those venues Michael's talking about, Addington Raceway, for a Group 1 night from last Friday night. First run in 1973, it is one of the most sought-after Group 1s for the mares. The Standardbred Breeders' Stakes at Addington Raceway. Of course, the Premier Mares won by DeBarber a couple of weeks ago. She raced away once again, Dream About Me. 8th Group 1 for her in New Zealand, 10th in her career, and she was simply too strong.
But Dream About Me has the Breeders' won. She's well clear. This is a different Dream About Me to last time, and she's going to win it. Dream About Me has beaten Step Up on Shantae and Kotari Cullen. Next in Moss.
Yeah, she was very, very good, Michael, the $1.2 million earner. She worked to the front and dominated, outstayed them. About 3:12. I thought she was clearly capable of running a bit quicker than that, but you only have to go fast enough to win. Stablemate Ali Mack, unfortunately, Dream About Me followed her through at the start and punctured her wheel, and therefore she had virtually no part to play in the race at all. Step Up, really good. Another terrific effort by the Stonewall team. A big, big bonus for Nick Lelivre on Shantae, getting itself a Group 1 placing, enhancing what she's now worth as a broodmare into third. And yeah, the story of the night, though, had to be all about the mare Dream About Me.
Yeah, she's very good. I think she lacks an inch of high speed these days, Greg. I've been saying it for months, and they're now driving her that way, just driving her like a bulldozer. And Tim Williams summed it up beautifully. He just attacked and attacked until he got the lead and kept on going. So a couple of their key mares really underperformed, DeBarber massively so, and of course Ali Mack has had a horror week because not only did she get that sulky tyre punctured, but of course then they missed the nominations for the Ladyship Mile prelude this week, so her week's been turned on its head. Would she have beaten Dream About Me? I don't know, probably not. Greg, it's really interesting. She now heads to Menangle for a mile race on Saturday night, which is probably not ideally her cup of tea these days, the way she races, but she's so good, she could still win it, and she's still the favourite for the Ladyship Mile. She needs to finish in the top 5, Gregory, on Saturday night to make it through to the final. So look, she's done plenty. If she retired now, she'd have nothing left to prove, but a sub 150 mile at Menangle, which is very possible for her in 10 days' time, would come in handy.
Yeah, it certainly would. Congratulations to Tim Williams. I think that's about his 4th Group 1. Might have put that on the screen for you. Driving her, and yeah, he's had a great association with her all the way back to her 2-year-old days when, of course, she won the Harness Jewels from the outside gate at Ashburton. Gee, it was a good night there on Friday night. We had a couple of summer cups. The Pacing Cup saw Ultimate Machete return, and at this point, Michael, he looked the winner, but just like the New Brighton Cup back in September, a horse called Let's Spend a Night Together stormed home for Matt Anderson.
Henry Hubert getting through back in black. Ultimate Machete, half a length over Henry Hubert, and storming at them again. Let's Spend a Night Together. Yes! Let's spend a
Look, not much fun for the favourite punters after he did loom up, as Greg said, to win the race, but what a wonderful drive by young Matt Anderson. I would have thought at the top of the straight this horse had no chance. It's a replica of what he did to the Fixer, the New Zealand Cup winner, by blasting past him in that New Brighton Cup. Maybe Ultimate Machete was a run short, but to be honest, the winners come from last of the pack at the top of the straight. Greg, no excuses there. He just seems to be at his absolute best when he can race like that. What do you make of it as a form race? I'm not sure, Greg, because he had been convincingly beaten by Fun at the Beach at his previous couple of starts. Then he comes out and wins that. So I do think when we are songs, the Fixer, and obviously let it, the top ones, Greg, like probably the Auckland Cup winner and Cruise Bromac. When we lose those horses, there's a lot of horses in that free-for-all group who are just close to each other. I think Ultimate Machete's better than most of them, but maybe his feet and his lack of fitness an issue for him. So, yeah, I'll be honest, Greg, I think we're not going through a great open class period. I think the Auckland Cup winner's a pretty good horse.
Yeah, turn
but
it
again, Star Galleria's over in Australia, and he's had a stuff up of a week. I just think that we don't get to see our best horses race each other very often. And when you get down to that next tier, anything can win. That's by no means detracting from the winner. Thrilled to see Terry McDonald, a good mate of ours, back in the winner's circle after the race. But yeah, I'm not sure any of that form we saw there would stack up on the Grand Circuit.
Yeah, along with his great mate Reg Storer, a huge supporter of harness racing in the Canterbury region, and let's spend a night together. That was his first win since that New Brighton Cup. Mind you, he's been basically against the free-for-allers each and every start. What about a horse that's arrived in the open class trotting ranks? Very, very good performance this, Michael, swooping down the outside over the love, a little bit like Let's Spend a Night Together. You wouldn't have thought this horse could run past Winterfell like this.
No, well, the difference was obviously we had seen Let's Spend a Night Together do this in the New Brighton Cup. We hadn't seen this version of this horse. Like Winterfell, after the Jewels last year, he felt like the horse who was going to be the next big thing in trotting. But man, this is a performance and a half. A typical Love You, big long striding type of horse. Gee, Greg, there's lots to like about him. I can really see him turning into an open class force. Again, at a time when there's great depth to the open class ranks, but no champion to scare you away, because Mark Cool is very, very good, but we do know that he has his issues from time to time. So not willing to criticise Winterfell, maybe like Ultimate Machete, he was a little bit short, but hard to make an excuse, Greg. The big chestnut stomping down the outside. He just looks, he's shaped like a good trotter, as they tend to be, Greg, and I think he'll end up in a Dominion handicap, or Dominion, sorry, it's called these days, later this year. I'm not saying he's going to win one, but I think he's got more raw ability than some of the horses who contested it this year.
Yeah, exactly. He was in a trotting, obviously a mobile there, and Ken Barron had said prior to the race he needs to improve his speed off the gate. He held his own this time, so he's definitely getting better at that caper, and he has certainly arrived. And 2 starts back, he went very close to beating Great Things Happen, and things haven't been great for that camp in the last week or so, but we wish Gavin Smith and the team all the very best with getting him back to his best. But clearly there was something not quite right with him, Michael, and we've been saying that for the last 4 or 5 weeks as well.
Yeah, he looked like those good horses, Greg. Very few of them have hitches in their gait and can deal with it for a long period of time. Eastbourne Grant was one who did it, but maybe Stig. They just don't last. It's like if you were going for a run and you get a sore knee. If you're a human being, eventually it will blow up and get to you, because unless you have that fluidity of movement, it's just too hard on the body, Greg. I hope Gavin Gets Great Things Happens back, but. Yeah, gee, it's going to be a battle. It's a really open slather, open trotting scene, open class trotting scene at the moment. Greg, if someone said to you right now, who's favourite for the Road Cup? Absolutely no idea. I'm not sure where Mark Calder was at. I definitely don't know where he's going to be at by late April, early May, Greg. So he's the most talented one of them. Will we ever see Mombay again?
Well, he was at the trials last week, Michael.
Yeah, and as you know, Greg, he's been to the trials before. Where does Le Monde and Temporale fit into this whole thing? Where does Massive Metro fit in? He's won a Group 1. We're going to see Le Monde against Massive Metro on Friday night at the park. That'll be really interesting to see whether Massive Metro's gone past Le Monde. But this horse here, Greg, on what he showed on Friday, who's to think he's not in that conversation?
Yeah, exactly. What we've shown you so far wasn't even the richest race of the night, because it was for $150,000. PGG Rights in New Zealand Yearling Sales Series Fillies final, and We'll Have Time was beautifully handled here by Zach Butcher. She's only won 2 races, Michael, the 2-year-old section of this, and now this one, meaning that her stake earnings have taken her past $220,000.
And that's why you pay up for the sales series, Greg. You pay up because you don't know who won't. You don't know who won't be there. Princess Tiffany, of course, didn't make it to the race, Greg. And you know, there's a lot of homebreds in harness racing these days. People retaining horses. Simple as this: if you go to the sales, Greg, and you pay any type of money for a horse, you pay up, because Bella Montana missed a payment for this race, Greg, and by no means detracting from what Have Time did, but almost certainly Bella Montana would have won this race. Almost certainly. Now, Barry Purdon still won it with Zach Butcher, so well done to them. That's great training, but Bella Montana, under the new system, Greg, the payment would have been made the day she was purchased for $1,800. She would have been eligible, there would have been no missed payments, and we probably would have been looking at a different horse, maybe not with its tongue hanging out the side of its mouth.
No, you're right there. Congratulations to the Have-Time Breeding Limited and Malcolm and Sandra Little. Really good performance from her. A couple of the undercard races. Now, this would be the Craig Thompson My Sky race of the night. You'll be looking at this in weeks and months to come, Michael. Here's Nandolo in front. This was a terrific battle. I've already told you to its outside. The eventual winner, Smoke and Buy, who's trained by Mitchell Kerr. The time here was sensational, and these three horses, at least out of this race, could all make it through to open company.
Yeah, they could. And Greg, let's hope we retain them. That's crucial, retaining these type of horses. And as I said, we need to get to the stage where we have $20,000 minimums at Alexandra Park and Addington, Greg, because until we do, we're going to have this disparity between the two major tracks. Alexandra Park are heading there. Addington needs to head there. I know it's easier said than done. Gregory, here is Eureka.
Yeah, Eureka getting win number 3. Grant Payne does train. This was in the PGG Rights in the $7,000 race for those horses with sires with $7,000 or less. And this was just a good front-running drive and delivered for Sam Otley. And Eureka was too strong in that one, and really his team, he's only got a small one, Grant Payne, he thoroughly deserved this, and yeah, the horse was too strong on the night. Cast No Shadow, the start of that race, went back, Eureka went forward, got the lead, got some great sectionals, and that was probably the winning of that. Now, talking about starts, without trying to find a negative tonight on such a positive note off the back of the last few days, let's go back to Addington Raceway on Friday night. Now, this was not a fair start, Michael. We're looking at the horse in the blue colours, Pilch, and also She Can Dance. And this is the race we've just showed you Eureka winning. So Pilch is in a gallop here, and Terry Schmeel's first drive back since his bad injury, as we know. Gets the horse back down, and the starter attempts to allow it to find its spot, which is position 2. Now, as the tape rolls on here, he's chasing pretty hard, but we're nearly at the back straight at Addington Raceway, and he's still not finding his space. Now, She Can Dance is drawn to follow that horse out. Now, they hit the 1980 there. There is absolutely no chance in the world that was a fair start for either A, Pilch, or B, She Can Dance. Now, if Gavin Smith did that as a driver, they would have fined him for starting from the wrong place. Pilch didn't get his fair chance. I really don't know what else to say. The Stice report said Pilch missed the start by a length. Well, I don't know how they measure a length these days, Michael, but he was at least 2 lengths out of position. That should have been take 2. I'm not really sure how that happened.
What do you want me to say?
I don't expect you to say anything. Picture tells 1,000
You sat here
words,
next to me 3 months ago, and I know you've abandoned me to the Christchurch studio tonight with your big sales mates, but you sat here next to me 3 months ago when I said to you there is a disconnect between the starter in Canterbury and the horse people. It's not my imagination, Greg. I had phone calls about this on Saturday. Now, there's a disconnect, and the one thing harness racing repetitively stuffs up, which the dogs and the gallops don't, is the start of its races, Greg. The other day we had a tape wrapped around a horse's leg, and sometimes a tape hits the outside tin fence and a horse gallops, and then we had a horse the other day fly around at the start, horse off 10 metres, run straight into it, locks itself out of the race. Now, at the dogs, Greg, they shove in a box, they pull the lid up, the dogs take off. Pretty hard to stuff up. At the gallops, they put them in a bunch of steel gates, they rub their heads, off they go, take off. What am I supposed to say, Greg?
Well,
I mean, I went to the sales this week and paid my own money for a horse. Lots of people watching the show paid money for the horse. Lots of other people watching this show are betting on this. Now, they can bet on Randwick or Sharton, they can bet on Moonee Valley, they can bet on Winks. We have to get the starts right, Greg, and we have to eliminate anything which is bad at the starts of races. Like, here's a standing start race where a horse goes away and just a horse in the second line, 10 metres, gets caught up back, it's finished. It's gone, Greg. Now, under these circumstances, surely we use the discretion to say that horse hadn't reached a pace, so therefore it had not started, and therefore it's going to be late scratched. No one likes late scratchings, Greg, they suck. But there's 3 codes in play, and there's worldwide racing in play. The only place the only one of the industries that repetitively stuffs up the starts is harness racing. So
I think the harshest thing for me, though, Michael, was the first one we showed was a mobile. Well, there's absolutely no excuse for that. Now, horses can play up at the start, and in that instance, Brad Mowbray's horse had already played up and spun around him. I half-pie get that one. I feel for the connections of Zinnie Mark and the others that were taken out of play. I understand that. That can be a racetrack incident. But that mobile one is inexcusable.
Oh, I agree. But I'm saying it's not just one or the other, Greg. It happens in all sorts of weird places. It happens so often that I see the starts of races, I think to myself, I almost don't care anymore, Greg. I just get so used to it. I'm like, oh, well, that happens. And I do care, but I want to not care because, Greg, we've argued about it for years. The fact we still have harness racing standing start tapes is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. They're of no use to anybody. You just say to people, you start a line, if you're a smart ass and you keep jumping the queue, we'll fine you. You do it again, we'll suspend you.
Well, we had a race on Sunday, Michael, and we're not even going to show you the footage of that, but they were running at the start. You want to go have a look at it. It's about race 4.
You made me watch it the other day, and I thought to myself, what a waste of time that was. As I said, Greg, the one thing you have to do, whether it's the Olympics, doesn't matter what it is, you've all got to start the same. That's how it works. And that's one thing. We talk about harness racing and what the bosses can do. They can sit around the table, they can have their executive meeting and say, let's fix this. If we do one thing for the entire year, let's fix this, because it's not good enough because the other two codes don't have the problem.
Yep. Let's leave that there for now. We did have some viewer feedback as well on that, so that's part of the reason we highlighted it this week. OK, we've got Alexandra Park to wrap up from the other night as well. Jack's a legend. He's in terrific form, isn't he, Michael?
He's got his confidence back, Greg. He's not racing the elite class horses, and that helps you get your confidence back, but well driven. I actually bid on his brother today, Greg. So I bid on his Art Major brother, who was sold for $50,000 today, and I think Nigel McGrath got him, and I think Nigel's going to have a lot of fun with him. I spoke to Barry Purdon. He's going to stay in Auckland, obviously, for the Derby meeting now, where there's a couple of free-for-alls. The other surprise package, Greg, has been this horse here, Lady Cherokee. Now, she wasn't the favourite for this. It was her first time at Alexandra Park. She had a hard run. She was there to be beaten at the top of the straight by Best Western, but she fought back, Greg, and Todd Mitchell has got himself the best horse he's had for a while, and a horse who's now going to head to the Northern Oaks on Friday week.
Yeah, 3 from 3 she is by Sir Lincoln, and yeah, she's even surprised him, but she was brave and she deserves an opportunity at the group race level. And like you say, she had a pretty hard run, but she kept on trucking and was too good. Sweet on Me. Well, Michael, the first daughter, first horse out of Adore Me. This was a pretty impressive first up effort, wasn't it?
Well, she's a horse who may not have existed, Gregory, because she's by Sweet Lou, but Adore Me was actually initially served by Christian Cullen and didn't take. So they crossed her to Sweet Lou, and this is the result. And what a dream for Sweet Lou. This horse and Virgil winning on Friday, Greg, parlaying into a really strong Monday sale, $140,000 yearling. That's exactly what he needed, Greg, after a really big first 2-year-old season in North America. Sweet Lou's last week, Greg, simply couldn't have gone any better.
No, they couldn't have. 2 more daughters for her, one by Sweet Lou and the other one by Sun Beach. So she's yet to sire a colt, Adore Me, the brilliant race filly and mare. Just a quick one before we go to a break. New Zealand Derby odds. Our TAB bookmakers, the nominations have been out for 4 weeks. We could do with the market. That's courtesy of Brian Rabbit and the New Zealand Metropolitan Trotting Club. When we come back, we'll have a look at the Chariots of Fire and try and find you a winner or two for next week.
Mr. Lee off my team, we're just trying to live the dream. I said, Mr. Lee off my team, we're just trying to live the dream. I said, Mr. Lee off my team, we're just trying to live the dream.
You're in your home straight in the box seat with Woodlands, of course, off the back of a tremendous sale for them on Monday. Chariots of Fire was last Saturday night. Michael Guerin, you were across there. You told us this could happen. Poster boy, 3 from 3 this time in, and again he was outstanding.
He's a proper horse, Greg, an absolute proper horse. Winner of the New South Wales Derby. That's him down out the outside in the Lauriston Bloodstock colours, the pink. Ashley Locaz punching through the middle, so the swoopers. Hale Christian down the outside for third. So the last 3 at the 600, Greg, first, second and third. The horse who never got a run, Chase Auckland. I had my feelings it could happen, Greg. I really did. I just thought Chase Auckland would get him behind Pickard, who wouldn't get him a big enough gap at the top of the straight. Ignatius outside him. It was a swoopers race. He's a good horse, Poster boy. No doubts, Greg. I didn't like him as a 2 and 3 year old. I thought he was a bit weak. I had a good look at him at the stables on Saturday night. He's a lot bigger. Yeah, he's in the Miracle Mile, and he can win the Miracle Mile because he might be the best swooper. Major Dan is a horse who's going to try and win his way into the Miracle Mile, Greg. He's a wicked front runner. Here he is front running in the free-for-all last week. So there he is, and there's the fixer. Greg, Natalie had to drive the fixer this way because he needs to learn to rough and tumble for the mile racing over there. But Major Dan just loves this stuff. It's just his cup of tea. So here's what he'll probably try and do in the second of the preludes this Saturday, Greg. Charge to the lead and pace 149 and change. On this occasion, it was 149.5. The fixer was good enough, Greg, but I'm not convinced on this. With his lack of gate speed, he's a genuine miler. He might improve, but he's in a tricky situation, Greg. So here's what happened. Poster boy's in the Miracle Mile, so is Yaya's Hotspot, who won the Newcastle Mile. There are 6 spots left. There's 2 preludes this week, Greg, and one of them's got Tiger Tara. I spoke to Shane Tritton this week. He's got Maxi Man against Tiger Tara. He said, we're going to go to Tiger Tara's back. So what you're going to see here, almost certainly, it's not a quick front line, is 1 leading, 2 trailing. Now, Greg, the fixer, best case scenario, maybe 1-1 from all that. And I think, Greg, they'll take the top 3 to the Miracle Mile. But if the third horse is weakish, maybe a Maximum type horse, then I can see them maybe taking the top 2, and there's room for an Ashley Locaz or Greg, a horse in the second prelude, in Myfield Marshall. He's the defending champion. So Tiger Tara will be there because he'll be in the top 3 undoubtedly unless something goes wrong. Greg, that second prelude's this one. Now, I think they want Myfield Marshall in the race, but Greg, he could technically, now the 1 and 2 will come out here because they're emergencies. He could technically, Greg, miss the top 3. He could go well and miss the top 3, and then they might bump a third horse, Greg, and say, okay, you in a strong third, we'll put Myfield Marshall in. So the intention would be, Greg, the top 3 from each of these heats would go forward. The horses who might be able to skewer that because they might want them in the field if there's a weak third place getter, Myfield Marshall, Ashley Locaz, Greg, who is second in the Chariots, of course, and Chase Auckland. Now, Chase Auckland, unlucky in the Chariots, heads to a minor race 2. If he happened to win by a gap, there's a chance he might usurp a horse who finishes third. So, Greg, basically it's top 3 into the Miracle Mile, but there could be some horse playing just around them if there's a weak 100 to 1 shot running third.
Yeah, well, that race number 2, who else is in that? Hale Christian, who finished third in the Chariots. It's a deep race. All you need is faith, of course. Yeah, it's just a terrific contest. That Hale Christian likely to follow Pickard throughout. So 240 about Chase Auckland there. Really interesting night there, Saturday night, Michael.
Mate, there's Derby heats and there's Princess Tiffany, who's turned up just out of nowhere. We thought she was going to the Northern Oaks, is heading across for the New South Wales Oaks. So she's in a weak heat, she'll bolt in. Greg, looking at these heats, to be perfectly honest, most of them we favourite dominated because people won't want to rough the favourites up, and more importantly, they want to get into the final. Centenario, Muscle Factory, I'm Another Masterpiece should win, Greg. So should Princess Tiffany. The interesting one is Tell Me Tales against Dream About Me. I think Dream About Me might be a little bit susceptible there. And of course the news this week that Ali Mack, Star Galleria and Utmost Delight missed the noms on Monday. It's a busy time, people make mistakes. They make mistakes, Greg, and they can't contest preludes and therefore can't contest either the Miracle Mile or the Ladyship Mile the week after. So, yeah, not ideal for their connections clearly.
No, disappointing in that regard. What about harness racing around this nation of ours this week? Forbury Park, 8 races start there, 5:34 Thursday night, $25,000 fast track insurance pick 6 there. Addington, 10 race program. Some young horses there, 2-year-old stepping out, trotting and pacing, 5:27 the start time there. The pick 6 is at Alexandra Park, 5:37 10 race program. The Big Fish will be on the course with Aaron White. Ashburton, huge day there on Saturday. It is the New Zealand Sapling Stakes and the Hambletonian. There's a Neville Fillies heat there too, so a pretty important day. 12:03 the start time. Oamaru, the Waikawaiti Cup. It'll be run the 2 days there at Oamaru on Sunday and Tuesday. Whale Watch, of course, if you want to get all of the information leading into each and every one of those meetings. Tipping-wise, yeah, how are things going there, Michael?
How are you going so far with the tips? You're 2 from 2,
None
aren't you?
from 2, Michael. None from 2.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
different from 2 from 2, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. 275. You're bolting in front of your protege there, Mr. Cross.
You, Aaron White got a winner last week, so did the Fish, and so did the Mini Fish, Cameron Shaw. Mark Summich got a winner last week, and that Linda Van Beek, I wasn't aware of this, Greg, but she tipped Ashley Locas last week, almost blew us all out of the water at $15. She's actually one of the owners. So welcome, Linda. Congratulations on having a great horse. She's gone for Ashley Locas again this week. So
Why wouldn't you?
Gregor, you've gone for Sam Scara. I know you're getting nervous now. You need a winner. So look, I really am praying for you, brother. I think Max Sharp's got a great chance if he steps away. Majestic Hurricane at Addington for Matt. Dr. Tin for Mark. Wales gone Just Wing It, who's taking on some horses who actually have won races. Cameron Shaw's following him in. Istanbul Greg is in a junior drivers race and he'll go very close to winning that. Linda's sticking with her horse, Ashley Locas, and Mark Summich, leading auctioneer, has gone for Zinni Mac. He's thinking the return to the mobile will help. So Gregory, honestly, brother, I'm praying for you for Friday. I know it's weighing on you heavily at the moment.
I've never spent more time trying to find a winner, Michael, than I have in the last couple of days. I need to get something on the board, and I think Sam Scara, she was another one that had a tyre problem in that Group 1. And Zinni Mark, your mate there, Mark Summich, well, it got knocked over in that start we showed before. So, yeah, I'm sure it can bounce back. Pete Davis and Margot 9, their Give a Little page is up over 46,000. It closes tonight, Michael, at midnight. Again, on behalf of them, they are absolutely overwhelmed by the support of the industry getting in behind them.
Mate, so people should. If you made $1 at the sales, think about getting onto the Give a Little page to Sir Peter Vella, Andrew Seabrook and the whole team at New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for a wonderful week. Greg, I'm off to Menangle Saturday night. I'll report back next week with all the info heading into the Miracle Mile. Yeah, certainly look forward to that. Thanks so much for your input tonight, Michael. Think about some of those young trainers, those people we were talking about before, a couple of the older ones too, Paul Court and Nigel McGrath. They were pretty active today. Maybe you might want to race a horse with them. Look them up, hrnz.co.nz, all their details are there. That's been your box seat. We'll see you in 7 days' time.